Tameside Radio Sports Talk with Betfred. Visit your local Betfred shop today for a variety of great offers and check out our app for great features like Pick Your Punt Builder. Whenever you bet, Betfred. 18 plus, begambleaware.org.
Oh, hello and welcome. This is Sports Talk with me, Lewis Connell, and as always, I'm joined by Peter Spencer from Betfred. How are you doing today, Peter?
Yeah, great. Looking forward to it.
Fantastic. Well, we'll start with the Premier League title race then, of course. We thought Liverpool might have been out of the title race last week, but if they weren't already, they definitely are now after dropping points again away at West Ham. It's been a poor run of form for them, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. And there's anguish in the camp now with Klopp and Salah going head to head on the touchline. So it's not looking good for Liverpool at all. A bit of a sad ending to Klopp's reign there. As you say, they did lose points at West Ham. And they're now 200 to 1 at Betfred for the title. So they're right out of it now. We said last week it'd be a two-horse race, and it certainly that has happened. Betfred have paid out on City early, of course, so it is looking like the boss Fred Doan's right, even though he's a big red. And that cost us £750,000. People are still betting on City, 4-11 now for the Premier League. Arsenal, they're 2-1. For the title.
Yeah, and they're still neck and neck, those two, after they both picked up wins. Arsenal obviously hanging on to win the North London derby, and that was a bit more sort of nervy than it needed to be after a bit of a disastrous error from the goalkeeper to start off the comeback.
Yeah, it's I don't think any of them were particularly convincing, either City or Arsenal, in the weekend games, but they got themselves over the line, and that's what would-be champions do. They can play poorly and still win. And Arsenal, as you say, hung on for 3-2 victory there against Tottenham, which was probably their hardest game in the running now, and we'll just see which of the two teams goes over the line and picks up the title. Betfred still have City as the favourites. Liverpool out of it now, and I thought that City they weren't particularly convincing at Nottingham Forest. The list of excuses is getting quite extraordinary now. It reminds me of the days of David Moyes at United. When I know the Manchester Evening News had an excuseometer on the website. But anyway, Guardiola is now saying that they won because of the dry pitch at the City ground. I mean, that's quite extraordinary for him to say. I would have thought a dry pitch would have suited City in that he could pass the ball quicker. And a dry pitch in this climate that we're enduring at the moment is pretty remarkable in any case.
Yeah.
The amount of cricket that's been called off. Anyway, he's saying that the dry pitch aided City because Nottingham Forest couldn't get good connection on the ball. Well, anyway, I think that one is a bit of an odd reason, especially as they won anyway.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
No, I'm not sure at all. I don't know where it was getting at. Maybe it was lost in translation. And we got a goal from Haaland, so he's back in the reckoning now.
He is.
Phil Foden, badly missed. He was under the weather. But again, City always find a way to win, even without probably the best or the shiniest star in the squad at the moment on form, Foden, and they still won 2-0. So they're piling on the pressure at the top. They're 1 point behind Arsenal with a game in hand, and we've got this dramatic running.
Yeah, and City have still got to go to Spurs away from home as well. They're quite a bogey team for the Blues, aren't they? But
yeah, they've never actually won at they've never actually scored at that stadium.
No.
So that'll be a first for City. But I think they'll both win all the matches. Although United could have a say in all this because they're playing against Arsenal.
They could.
And I can't see that Arsenal would relish going to Old Trafford. And as we both know, anything can happen when Manchester United step on the pitch.
Yeah, I mean, as bad as United have been, we're touching them now. I wouldn't be surprised at all if they were to beat Arsenal or at least get a draw. It always seems to be a tough game that for the Gunners. and obviously United at the weekend, they didn't have a great game. It was 1-1 draw to Burnley of all teams, and you know.
Yeah, it amazes me how Erik ten Hag has a straight face when he says things like they're great entertainers and they're a good team, blah blah blah. I mean, they're a poor team. They've drawn with Burnley at home and could have got beaten.
Yeah.
And before that, they just get a bit of a win against Sheffield United, another doomed team. So I just don't see where he's coming from. He should be sort of lambasting his players for not winning well against Burnley. Burnley.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do actually get his point to a certain extent, because he is quite entertaining, but only for the neutral, because they're just sort of laughing at us. We're just a bit of a laughing stock, aren't we? With the Coventry game, that was entertaining for the wrong reasons. Away at Stamford Bridge, winning the game with 4 minutes to go, and then we lose the game. That's entertaining for the wrong reasons again. It's just.
But he's a manager of Manchester United. He shouldn't be sort of going into that narrative that the entertaining is everything. It's about winning football matches. That's what United fans want to hear, and winning football matches with a swagger, like in the past. Yeah. Not just scrambling across the line like they did against Coventry and finding themselves in an FA Cup final. So it's just like, it's as if someone's pressed a different button in him and saying, right, now you've got to say we're entertaining and keep going on about that over and over again.
Well, I think he's kind of contradicted his own points that he's made in the past, because when he came in, it was all about, we want to control games, we want to make it sort of, impossible for the other team to get the ball, not get a foothold in the game, and now he's saying that we're entertaining, which would suggest that we almost, want to give our opponents a say in what happens in the game so that we can counter them. I mean, it's sort of like, I don't see what his end goal is. Is it to dominate the ball? Is it to play on the counter? He's kind of trying to play a bit of both, and it's just not really working. I'd rather see United sit back in many ways, rather than you either high press or you sit off. You can't try a bit of a hybrid, because you just get nowhere.
Yeah, well, I think basically he's grasping at straws. He's desperately trying to hang on to his job there, and he's now using this narrative, as I say, about, we're still entertaining. Well, they might be entertaining for everybody by United supporters. They are a good watch, I'll give you that. You just don't know what's going to turn up. And that is exactly why they've got half a chance against Arsenal at home. Yeah. Because no one expects them to win, but they probably got half a chance. Yeah. It's a one-off game. And if everybody comes to the party, particularly like Højlund and Rashford up front, then they might actually do it. The goalkeeper seems to be making a few errors now as well. And the defence is just affected so badly by injuries. And the midfield, it just looks old and lacking ideas. And if it wasn't for that great captain Bruno, well, they would be really, really struggling.
Yeah. And obviously Kobbie Mainoo as well, the other shining light, but he's, as you say, people in there like
substituting him.
Yeah, I know, he's dragging him off. Dragging him off.
He wants to be approachable to the fans and be popular with the fans, and then he takes off an academy product who most football people absolutely love and hope that he makes it into the England squad for the Euros. They're not even quoted now because they're out of it for a top four finish. But Aston Villa are now 1-7 with Betfred for a top four finish, and Spurs are 9-2. So the more Spurs are involved in this, the better chances Arsenal have of winning the title, because Spurs will be really reining in on Manchester City, having been pipped by the other title rivals, Arsenal.
Yeah, and speaking of Tottenham, they travel to Stamford Bridge on Thursday, and that's really a must-win at this point, isn't it, in terms of the top four race? With Aston Villa, I think there's still a point ahead, even if Spurs do win the 2 games in hand.
Yeah, the way that Chelsea are playing mirrors Manchester United, so inconsistent. With that in mind, Betfred do have Chelsea 11-10 favourites to beat Spurs on Thursday. Spurs are 7-4. A draw, that's a great possibility, of course, at this stage. That's 11-4. So we do think that Chelsea will win that, particularly when Palmer's playing.
Yeah, and Aston Villa, as we mentioned, they're looking like the favourites for that fourth spot, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. They're 1-7 to a top 4 finish. What a great season they've had to establish that. And frankly, it's about time that the so-called second city, although that's debatable, most people around here thinking it should be Manchester, having a team that is actually competing at the higher echelons. And I know we'll come to this in a minute, but Aston Villa are in fact the only team left in Europe.
Yeah, well, they've got a semi-final to look forward to, haven't they, against Olympiacos, the Greek side, of course. They're at home first in that one, the first leg, looking to make it to the final, which is in Greece as well. Yeah,
4-9 Aston Villa to win that game. Olympiacos 6-1, a draw 10-3 in the first game. But as I say, I think it's great that Aston Villa have upset the apple cart at the top of the table, and that Birmingham has at last got a team that is able to compete in the Premier League and beyond in Europe.
It's starting to become a bit of a sort of English-dominated cup, isn't it? The Conference League. I mean, it's only been going for 2 seasons now, 3 seasons, with Roma winning the first one. But West Ham dominated it last year, and Aston Villa are dominating it now. Could we see that as, the English team sort of winning that every year, do you think?
I think that's a reflection on the strength of the Premier League, because it is a bit of a freak that there is no Premier League teams in the Europa League or the Champions League. In fact, for them to be no teams competing before they were knocked out, it was 33-1 for City, Arsenal, etc., to all leave, and Liverpool to all get knocked out of those 2 competitions. But because the Premier League is so competitive, and teams in 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th place are so strong compared with the leagues in France, Germany and Spain, I think that's why we are having teams that are coming through in the Conference League.
Yeah, definitely. Just moving on to the Betfred Super League now to finish.
Well, we've got a relegation.
We have, of course. We have, yes.
Sorry.
The relegation odds, it's looking like the sort of 3 that came up are probably going to go back down, but you never know.
Yeah, well, we know already that Sheffield United are doomed. They're out. They're through the trapdoor. And then we've got Burnley. They're 1-8, despite that battling performance at Old Trafford. Luton, they're 1-6. So, as you say, we do think it'll be the 3 promoted teams. But then Nottingham Forest, they're just hanging on in there. They're 7-4. Next favourites to be relegated. But we do think, as you said at the beginning, it's going to be the 3 promoted clubs, which is a great shame, really. It buys into the view that effectively the Premier League is becoming something of a closed shop.
Yeah, and obviously the ones that are coming up look like they're going to be the ones that went down, apart from Ipswich, of course, who may come up and break that cycle. But just moving on to the Betfred Super League that we mentioned, the results have all kind of gone the way of St Helens this week, haven't they?
Yeah, they have. St Helens, they beat Huddersfield by the last minute drop goal on Thursday, and then they sat back and just waited, and it all fitted into place for St Helens. So Wigan were beaten at Hull KR, Catalans at Lee, and Warrington at Salford. So all those teams were all beaten, all the rivals for the title to win the grand final, all lost. So St Helens are now leaders of the Betfred Super League, but Betfred still have Wigan as the 5-4 favourites to win the grand final. St Helens in at 9-4, Catalan 7-1, and Warrington 8-1. The big movers are Hull KR, who are now in at 10-1. And guess what? It's St Helens against Hull KR on Saturday. Now that will be one heck of a game. we've got the dark horses of the league, Hull KR, against the team who are looking to bounce back and overtake Wigan in terms of the betting odds. So, as I say, we've got Wigan 5-4 favourites, St Helens 9-4 second favourites. Lee, they've been cut in now to 33-1 after that great win against Catalan Dragons. And Salford, they've been cut as well to 66-1, having beaten Warrington. Outsiders London can't buy a win, 2,000-1. Hull FC, club in crisis, 1,000-1, and Castleford 750-1.
Well, thank you very much, Peter, as always, for joining us. There's plenty of stuff to get your bets on there. If you do fancy a bet, you can bet online, on the app, or in Betfred stores, and we'll see you at the same time on Friday.
No problem at all.
Tameside Radio Sports Talk with Betfred. Visit your local Betfred shop today for a variety of great offers and check out our app for great features like Pick Your Punts Builder. Whenever you bet, Betfred. 18+, begambleaware.org.